Peter Feaman is the Florida Republican National Committeeman Elect and author of The Next Nightmare: How Political Correctness Will Destroy America. Peter, great to talk to you. I've read a majority of the book. My sense is, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that your concern is the next nightmare, so to speak, is the negative effect that political correctness leading to not pointing out the threat from what you call Islamic fundamentalism to the U.S. will bring to this country, right? Political correctness connected to Muslim fundamentalism. Expand on that a little.
Yeah, David, I think that's basically correct. I think the best example we can point to was what happened at Fort Hood. In my opinion, David, and the opinion of many others, that was a preventable tragedy. The signs were there that we had an Islamic extremist within our own ranks, and because of the political correctness within the military, the warning signs were ignored, and there's a lot of families that are grieving right now out in Texas as a result of it.
Yeah, you know, that was a horrible incident. I absolutely agree with you. The thing is, I did a lot of research on that incident in the last couple of days preparing for this interview, and it seems time and time again that that individual had no connection to any kind of organized so-called Islamist groups of any kind.
Well, he may not have a connection to it, but he was still a radical Islamist that took the verses of the Quran literally, and people knew that and yet ignored it. And that's so we don't have to worry about whether somebody is connected directly to Al-Qaeda or Hamas or the Muslim Brotherhood, but are they radicalized, whether they're connected or a lone wolf? And if they're radicalized, then we need to recognize it and take steps to stop it, so that we don't end up with more dead Americans.
Yeah, it's amazing how there's this trend in the American media, and in your book, The Next Nightmare, you talk about what you consider problems with media reporting on terrorism. I have a lot of problems with media reporting on terrorism, but they're different than yours. My problem is that any time that there is an incident like this, if the individual is connected to a right-wing or conservative group, immediately the mainstream media jump and consider him a lone wolf, completely disconnected from the political context in which they're acting. Yet when it is a Muslim, there is this assumption, what terrorist groups are they connected to? And only after the fact do we often find out they're not connected to any group. Do you agree with me on that? Why is it that media is so quick to consider the right-wing terrorists lone wolves?
I'm not sure I agree with that. I think the initial reaction for all terrorists is that it's a lone wolf. They don't want to, they're afraid to see a conspiracy behind every act of terror. So I can't make that generalization. I mean, let's look at the underwear bomber who just got properly sentenced to life in prison. He definitely was connected to Al-Qaeda training camps and that sort of thing. Originally, though, they said he was a lone wolf. Same with the shoe bomber. I think that they wouldn't even identify him by his Muslim name, but I think he was called Richard Reed, something like that.
Right.
So I think they call everybody a lone wolf. I don't think it's limited to right-wing terrorists, although I'm not familiar with too many right-wing terrorists that have killed people lately within the last 10 years. Are you?
Well, I'm glad. Oh, Peter, I'm glad you bring that up, because here's the thing. According to the FBI database from 1980 to 2005, terrorist attacks on U.S. soil, only 6% were groups associated with radical Islam or Islamic fundamentalism. 6 out of 100%. It's incredible, given that Peter King, congressman from New York, is having hearings exclusively about American Muslims, a community known to be both increasingly secular and very moderate politically. And only 6% over 25 years were Muslims. It's amazing to me how overblown it is.
I'm not sure, David, I would accept that premise, because the terrorist act that comes to mind where people were actually killed, I think of the World Trade Center bombing the first time, where they tried and didn't succeed. I think of the USS Cole, where there was an attack on American soil because a ship is considered American soil. The attack on the embassies in Africa, in Nairobi and Nigeria, that's American soil. So I question the FBI statistics, because certainly all of the meaningful and really dangerous terrorist attacks have been pretty much David, exclusively Muslim extremists.
No, but see, that's a semantic game where you're just cherry picking a very specific definition to fit what you're looking for. I mean, if we have to look at, we can't do that. I could also just cherry pick. I could create a situation. Well, all terrorist attacks that happened on odd-numbered days of the month, only in countries starting with the letters A through F, hey, they were all Christians. And you would say to me, well, hold on a second. That's a very cherry-picked definition meant to suit my narrative. If we look at the FBI database over 25 years, 6% are Muslims, 94% are not. That speaks volumes to me, but you're saying you just disagree with the FBI.
Well, I'd like to hear what their examples of terrorism are since 1995 from right-wing extremists that actually killed, maimed, or hurt somebody or seriously damaged property. And if they're there, I'd certainly be willing to write about those too, because the bottom line is American security. And
yeah, the list is extensive. The list is very extensive. Let me shift to another topic here, which I think
Sure.
you also talk about in the book, which is that of Sharia law. And Sharia law is something we've heard about more and more. We talked to this pastor, Terry Jones, also from Florida, who wanted to burn Qurans because of what he considered the infiltration of Sharia law in the United States. And we hear from different politicians, including Rick Santorum, widely considered the most conservative Republican candidate at this point, this fear of Sharia law taking over the United States. And when I did some research into this, and we talk about this all the time on the show, many people talk about their fear of Sharia law and all that brings with it. But when I look at some of the proposals from supposedly mainstream Republicans, I mean, we see Rick Santorum proposing jail time for abortion doctors performing legal abortions because his religion says that that's wrong. That sounds like Christian Sharia law to me. When we talk about forcing sonograms for abortions in spite of what doctors would recommend because of religion, that's Christian Sharia law. I mean, Kentucky is considering funding a Noah's Ark replica with state money. That's a religious thing. That to me sounds like a Christian version of Sharia law. Tell me where I'm wrong.
Well, I haven't heard of anybody actually getting killed in North America because of Christian doctrine.
Yeah, Dr. George Tiller. Dr. George Tiller performed legal abortions. You know what happened to him.
But there was an honor killing in Canada, and
Dr.
by the
George
way,
Tiller.
that person was just sentenced in Canada a couple of weeks ago, and that's a real live threat to women, children, and anybody else who become too Western, even here in North America. I don't see that the parallel is appropriately drawn.
What
David.
about Dr. George Tiller performing legal abortions? He was killed, and it was because of Christian opposition to what he was doing. Do you remember him in Kansas, the abortion doctor?
I do.
So isn't that an example of what you're saying doesn't exist?
No, because what happened to Dr. Tiller was in derogation of Christian scripture. Well, what happened with the honor killings is in accordance with the Quranic scripture. So that's where I would draw the difference.
Semantic games, Peter. That's that's not honest.
No, it is honest because the Quran will command a killing. Christian scripture doesn't command a killing anywhere that I'm aware of.
Absolutely,
so I don't think
Christian.
it's
No, Peter, you're being this is what many of the people who write books like you say, which you know that there is plenty of violence mandated in Christian scripture. Everything from stoning your daughter if she can't prove she's a virgin on her wedding day. If men simply cut their hair short, that is considered an abomination. I mean, you know that you're cherry picking when you say there's no violence in the Bible.
I don't think so, and here's why. That comes from the Old Testament, and Judaism has reformed such that they don't do that anymore. One of the things I call for in my book is for other Muslims to call for the reformation of Shia Islam,
right,
so that they can get caught up to the reformations, if you will, in Judaism and Catholicism. Because there's no doubt, sure, back in the Middle Ages and before the Reformation, the Great Reformation in Europe, there were terrible things done in the name of the Catholic Church, in the name of Christianity,
sure,
but the Reformation took place. And what I call for in my book is a Muslim Reformation, so that they can get caught up just like Judaism and Christianity did.
All right, Peter Feaman, the book is The Next Nightmare. I wish we had more time. We'll have to agree to disagree. I think we can agree on a couple of basic facts. You've written this book. The book exists, and there is violence in the world from a number of places. Maybe that's as far as our agreements are going to go, but it's a great conversation. I appreciate having you on.
I think we would agree that we want to stop the violence.
We certainly agree on that. Peter Feaman, thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome, David.